my brain and my life, and anything, any shadows in my brain has been my goal to put on blast. And yeah, I don't think there's anything left to say about my life. I mean, there's always more details I guess I could get into, but it's like, God damn it. I mean, do I need to name everybody I've ever known? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. It is my life after all. So I have to determine how I want to spend my remaining days on YouTube. Do I want to spend it cockfighting with Bloated Kiki and other people? I'm not fighting with Bloated Kiki. I've simply invited him on my panel that I don't have, but he doesn't want to. He's too busy doing arts and crafts in England. How do I want to spend my last few days on YouTube? Because what is today, the 16th? So yeah, I only have 12 more days. So I have to decide tonight, and maybe I'll sleep on it. I don't want to waste any more time. What do I want to do? What will make me feel accomplished? Maybe I don't have any goals. Maybe I'll spend the last 12 days of YouTube just fucking not giving a fuck. I've realized people want to believe whatever they want to believe, so it doesn't matter what I say or do at this point. But the point is, as long as I know I'm being honest. And that's been my accountability, me making sure I'm being honest with myself. And then as I express outwardly, that honesty. So everybody's always been irrelevant to that process because I know if I'm lying or not. So, yeah. I don't want to be doing exposing videos on my last days of, I mean, who cares about your channel and exposing your channel? I've been done that shit. Is there a wolf in the bushes? So I have to spend this time wisely. These next few days. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. There's a lot of people I can talk shit about, but do I really want to waste my time talking about them? Do you know when you're lying to yourself? I find it tricky. Yes, I do. I find it to be very obvious when I'm lying to me. It's very easy for me to know when I'm lying to myself. The problem is, when you lie to yourself, and you can use other people to prop up your lies that you tell yourself, and they'll enable them. Especially with places like social media. Social media enables people, the lies people tell themselves.
The other thing I like about StreamYard is that if there's ever a glitch in your internet connection, your stream isn't immediately terminated like it can be with other software while live streaming to platforms like YouTube. I've had that happen where a simple hiccup in the internet can shut the stream down and end the stream. So for stability and simplicity,
rev up your engine! Now, the first thing is never jumpstart your car backwards. Learn which terminal is positive and which negative. This Toyota is pretty easy. It's got a big plus on the positive. And if you pick this up, you can see there's also a plus on the battery right here. It says plus. So, that's positive. And the opposite side is negative, and it's got a negative on the battery. They're not all this simple. That's why you need to learn which is positive and which is negative. And here's why jump starting it backwards can really cause problems. Using this voltmeter, you can see how many volts the car battery has. Now, in this case, it's almost 12 volts. This battery is a little bit low. It's 11.68. And like all modern cars, the positive wiring goes to all the wires and switches, and the negative goes to the body of the car and to the engine. All the metal in the car is negative electricity, and that's 12 volts negative electricity. Unfortunately, since cars are all computerized, many of those sensors work on a 5-volt reference signal. So a lot of the electronics, and especially the computer itself, runs on 5 volts. Now that's 5 volts On the power side, if you jumpstart a battery backwards and put positive and negative on positive, you're making the ground now go to power. So instead of the ground being negative electricity, you're now having positive 12 volts going through there. That will feed right through any of those computer parts on the ground circuit and go right to the computer with 12 volts instead of 5, and it'll fry the computer. So never jumpstart a car backwards. And as a corollary to that, if you're working on the electronic system, make sure you know the voltage of what you're working on. Is it regular 12 volts? Or is a computer circuit that has 5 volts, and you should never put more than 5 volts into that circuit. Now, the next thing I don't advise to do is to add fuel additives to your fuel. Now, this isn't going to hurt anything except your wallet. You're wasting money in most cases. Modern fuel, at least in the United States, has many additives required by law. Cars run perfectly fine with the stuff you get out of the pump. If you buy good fuel, take care of your car, you don't need additives. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Scotty, those GDI, gasoline direct engine cars, they get carboned up. Don't they need cleaners in the fuel tank? And the answer to that is no. Because if you put them in the fuel tank of a GDI, the GDI injectors spray them right into the engine. They don't go over the intake valves. So the intake valves still get crud on them, and they don't get clean because the inside of them only have air and oil from the PCV valve system going in. The only way you can clean those is by either spraying it into the intake where the air goes in, or paying a mechanic like me who has pressurized cleaning machines to clean them. Now, the next thing not to do is to put a heavier weight oil in an older engine that might start to be burning a little oil, and you think, oh, I'll put heavy oil in it, it'll make it better. You really don't want to do it in any modern engine, and here's why. You can see this is a 12-year-old matrix, and it says use 5W30 oil. And some modern ones say even to use 0W20 oil. It's very light oil, and you don't want to make that light oil heavier. Most have these variable valve systems, and they have to have thin oil, so the oil flows really fast, gets into the VVT system. If you put a heavier oil in, when you start the engine up, it won't flow right. You'll get wear in that VVT system, and if it's really heavy, it won't flow right through the VVT system, and the variable valve system won't work right. It won't accelerate right. It won't put the check engine light. I see that a lot of people put too heavy oil in a modern car. So don't do that. Stick to what it was made for. And the next.
As your small business changes, your business insurance should too.
It's time to get a second opinion on our insurance.
Our small business insurance experts will give you a second opinion you can trust. Get an instant quote and save up to 20% with Byberg.
Everything's gonna be alright. Got a brand new lease on life. Everything's gonna be alright. When you look into your eyes, got a brand new lease on life. Took my soul down to.
Thing not to do is don't waste your money filling your tires with nitrogen. A few years back, they were pushing that, and they're trying to sell guys nitrogen concentration machines because realize the air we're breathing in now, that's like 80% nitrogen already. So all these companies are trying to sell guys like me nitrogen enhancing machines that could turn that 80% nitrogen into almost 100% nitrogen to fill the tires with. And yes, nitrogen is an inert gas, and it keeps its pressure a little bit better. I believe they use them in big jets because they're up in the air where it's really cold, and then they got to land really fast, and they want the pressure to stabilize exactly. But for normal cars just driving down the street, you're wasting your money paying somebody to fill your tires with nitrogen because, of course, over time most tires lose a little bit of air, so you'd have to keep going back and paying them to add a little air. You couldn't be adding it yourself, and all you're doing is knocking out 20% of the non-nitrogen that's in there. So waste the money. Don't throw your money away filling your tires with nitrogen. And the fifth and last thing not to do is don't forget to change your coolant every once in a while if you keep your cars a long time. Now, this is an old car, and it has that old-fashioned green coolant in it. You need to change it once every 3 years. But more modern cars, they use extended life antifreeze. As you can see here, 150,000 miles or 5 years. Now, if you don't keep your cars 5 years or 150,000 miles, you don't have to care. And there are even more modern ones that are 7 years. So it's not something you need to do all that often. But if you're cheap like me and drive your cars 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, you want to change the coolant when it's required. If you don't, it can ruin the water pump. It can ruin the head of the engine. And with these modern computerized cars, it actually creates creates a battery voltage when it's low inside the coolant, and that can destroy the electronic system, the computer sensors, make the car go haywire. I've had customers with cars like that. I stick my meter in their coolant at another end on the battery terminal and find out that there's voltage flowing through the coolant. That destroys stuff. It's not that hard to change the coolant out. You can change it out yourself, but you have to do it if you keep the car a long time to prevent all kinds of electrolysis that's going to occur inside and damage your car. When you start a turbocharged engine cold, do not race the engines up. Allow the engine to warm up for 5 to 10 seconds so that the oil in the engine starts flowing through the turbocharger. Realize that your engine oil on most turbocharged designs is also the oil that lubricates the turbocharger. So you want to start the engine up, let it run for 5 to 10 seconds before you ever rev the engine up, because you don't want to rev up the turbocharger when it's not fully lubricated with oil. Very simple. And a corollary of this is, do not rev the engine up and give it full power, full RPMs, until the engine oil is warmed up. So you want to drive it around a few minutes before you rev it to full power. You start it up, you're going someplace. Don't get it and floor it and go as fast as you can.